Before we start this episode of Sports Legends with Bevo, a shout out to two of our sponsors, Ryan Bridges from Elders Galway and also Steve Chapman from Victor Harbour Motor Co. Make sure you see both those guys if you're looking to buy a car or buy a house or sell a car or sell a house. You'll see their details up on the screen now. Obviously, two local legends, so make sure you get behind them and really appreciate their support. Well, for the second time, it's great to have the one and only Greg Blewett on Sports Legends with Bevo.
Hey, Bevo. Nice to be here.
It's great to have you, mate. Obviously, we've got a big summer of cricket coming up, and we'll start with the Ashes. Everyone's super excited. It's almost like our Christmas has come early in November. What excites you the most about this coming Ashes series?
Oh, I think any Ashes is exciting. The old enemy. I reckon we're lucky. Like last summer was brilliant as well against India. So, I've had it in the calendar for a long time now with my media commitments, back-to-back summers, India out here, and then obviously got leading into the Ashes. So, yeah, it's just around the corner. I think England, I haven't seen England this confident in coming out to Australia. Like they're a really settled side. So there's that confidence as well, which might set them up badly or it might set them up really well. No one really knows until probably until after the first test match. But they've got a really good chance. And Australia is sort of, going through a different sort of phase. I think they're sort of, I think they peaked probably 1 or 2 years ago and the side's getting a little bit older now. So it's just starting to sort of regenerate with a few players here and there. So we don't really know what the top three is. And we're, about a month out from the first test match. So there's lots to look forward to.
I guess that is a bit of a tough one to ask you right now, but looking forward, put your thinking cap on. What do you think the starting 11 just approximately might look like at this stage?
Well, after the top three, I think it sort of pretty much picks itself, although there's a question mark on Pat Cummins as well, but with his back. But I think the top three, Usman Khawaja, who's struggled as well, really, in the last couple of years. He made that great double 100 in Sri Lanka. But apart from that, he has struggled. But reading between the lines, he'll start the first test match. Cameron Green possibly at number 3. But I think if Marnus Labuschagne has a really strong 2 or 3 Shield games, I think they'd love to get him back into the side now. Whether that's as an opener or number 3, I'm not too sure. And then the other opening spot is really up for grabs. It really is. It's a complete bat-off. So, I can't really tell you. I mean, a lot of similarities, I think, to last summer as well. There was this, same sort of spot, an opening spot that Nathan McSweeney sort of jumped the queue because he made so many runs. And, guys like Marcus Harris and Cameron Bancroft completely dropped off the radar. They just couldn't get their act together when they needed runs under pressure. So, yeah, really interesting. I mean, it's probably that one opener spot that's up for grabs. And again, Marnus is probably the one. They'd love to get him back into the side.
Do you reckon?
Constas, I think if he makes a lot of runs, he's definitely a chance. But I just feel like he needs 2 years in the Shield system to really work his game out. But as I said, if he really, if he comes out and dominates those first 2 or 3 Shield games, then he's just as good a chance as anyone.
Yeah, I feel like McSweeney was a bit unlucky last summer. He sort of had those couple of test matches and did a reasonable job, but they, almost just, I feel like they could have given him a couple more test matches. Do you feel the same as well?
Not really. I think he was gone, pretty much. He was really struggling. So I think it was just delaying what was going to happen in a test or two's time. You could also look at the fact that, a career average under 40, he might have been lucky to play test match cricket as well. But he was making runs at the time.
Right timing, wasn't it? Yeah.
And I think, any chance you get to play for Australia and people say, well, he batted out of position as well. Well, lots of other players have batted out of position too.
Look at Travis Head, bats all over the place.
Travis Head, that's right. I started off my career batting at number 6. I'd never batted at number 6 either. I was always an opener. So you've got to make some adjustments along the way. I love Nathan McSweeney, and I'm sure he'll get another chance somewhere along the line. But, I think last year they made the right call at the right time in terms of, the selection, getting Constas in. He sort of changed the momentum of that series, didn't he?
Oh.
That Melbourne test match was extraordinary. That morning, that sort of half an hour, that first half an hour of play was just amazing.
You must have been sitting in the box thinking, what the heck's going on here? So.
Yeah. Well, I haven't experienced something like that ever, I don't think. Like in test match cricket, we've seen, some great performances here and there, but for someone that young, that raw to come out and play like that was incredible. And, he's never going to be able to play like that all the time, but for that moment in time, he played and missed at 5, I think, out of the first 6 in the first over, and then he's like, right, I'm just going to have to change it up here. So I was getting messages from people, saying, oh, I've never seen this before in test match cricket. So it was the crowd was going off, everyone watching on TV and listening on radio just absolutely loved it. So it was brilliant.
And this coming series, like you mentioned before, England's obviously they're talking the talk and who knows what's going to happen. But what do you think some of the danger players from England are in terms of from an Australian perspective?
Well, straight away I think of Root and Brook. So I think if England's top 3 can do a decent job and get them off to a good start, then that allows Root and Brook just to come out and play. So they're dangerous, no doubt about that. And listening to Joe Root talk about this upcoming Ashes, I've never really heard him this relaxed about coming out to Australia. And I know that this is almost like the last box to tick for Joe Root. He hasn't got a test match 100 out here. But just listening to him, he sounds different. So I'm worried about Joe Root. I'm also worried about Archer and the new ball
in Perth especially.
To someone like Usman who – because Archer's stock ball is an away swing from the left-hander. So that around the wicket to Usman early, that's troubled him a lot. So I'm worried about that. And they've just got, I think, some different options, especially with their bowling attack that they haven't had really in the past. So I think if they can juggle Wood and Archer for one of them to be playing at least every test match, I think they're in with a chance. But I like our bowling attack as well.
Yeah, can't wait. It's going to be an absolute belter. And let's go back to your own career now, Blewy. Talk about, I guess, some of the highlights of your career, and obviously there was many of those. But what are some of the ones that really stuck out to you? Sorry.
Oh, I actually recently did a chat to the MCC, and I had to do like a 30-minute talk on my career, and it was actually really interesting putting it together, and because I'd forgotten half of it. Like, I'm not one of these guys that sort of lies in bed and dreams about, the test debut and how it all started and retracing my steps. I'm sort of always looking ahead, I suppose. But yeah, there's some great highs and some lows as well. I mean, starting off my career with South Australia happened really quickly as well, just like my test career. Like I wasn't really thinking I was going to play the year that I did. And then to, do okay and then sort of keep progressing. Like my first 3 years of Shield cricket, I just sort of kept getting better and better. Like my numbers were better. And then I suppose my breakthrough innings was my 268 at the MCG against Mervyn Hughes and Damien Fleming. And that, I think the timing as well, the Adelaide Test match was going on at the same time. And apparently like all the score updates were coming across during the Adelaide Test match. And, Blewett's got his double 100 and then 250 and the sort of, so I think that's the time I sort of really burst onto the scene with a chance of playing for Australia. And then, Australia A was great fun as well. And then, every test match for Australia was a highlight as well. But the 2 tours were, my first one to the West Indies where we beat the West Indies for the first time in their own backyard for 22 years. They hadn't won or hadn't lost a series anywhere in the world for 15 years before that as well. So
insane. To
do that was, and for that to be my first tour was pretty incredible. And then the 97 Ashes tour, I always wanted to go on an Ashes tour as well. So that was great as well.
What was it like going up against some of those, West Indian bowlers? And, is there any of those that really intimidated you as well, Blewy?
I think the biggest intimidation for me was, like, I grew up in the 80s and 90s watching the West Indies smack Australia. and it seemed like every second series was against the West Indies. So, and they had such a great attack. So for me, it was about getting over the fact that, shit, I'm playing against the West Indies here. And it seemed like every time I got out of the side, I came back in, it was against the West Indies as well. And it was against Curtly, Ambrose and Courtney Walsh and, the Benjamin brothers who I rated really highly too. So, that was the main thing I sort of had to get over, was the fact that, you know, I'd watched the West Indies just completely dismantle Australia over a long period of time, and then just concentrate on, you know, it's a contest every ball. It's like me against him, and that's what you had to really sort of narrow it down to. But yeah, some great contests between, you know, the teams that I played in and the West Indies. I wouldn't say it was great fun, but it was challenging.
Remember those, you know, those days, like you mentioned before, when Curtly was, you know, absolutely dominating in Perth. I think he took like 7 for 2 or something like that. And yeah, I remember watching that. You know, those sort of cricket things always, those memories really come back to me as a kid, just watching that and just thinking, gee, I'm glad I'm watching on TV and not being out there. And then, yeah, just can imagine being there. It would have been crazy.
Well, you know, when I played against the West Indies, they were so intimidating because they didn't talk to you off the field either. Like, you know, especially the fast bowlers, like you'd look at them and then they'd give you a look back, and then quickly, you know, like your eyes, you didn't know where to look, and you could tell they weren't interested in engaging you away from cricket either. So it was hard to sort of get to know what they were like. And I remember I got a first ball duck at the Wacker. It was a grubber against Curtly Ambrose, like hit this crack and, you know, bounced about an inch high. And then years later, I played a game with Curtly Ambrose, and I knew I was playing with Curtly, and I was like, shit, I'm finally going to meet Curtly Ambrose and see what he's like. And he was walking towards me, and I'm like, what, how am I going to handle this? And he looks at me and he goes, hey, Blewy, man, remember the grubber at the Wacker, man? Like, he rolled along the ground. And he was and he just like a completely different person to what I thought he was. And this team that I played for, which was Lashings, a team called Lashings in the UK, had a lot of West Indian roots to it. So I played with a lot of those West Indian, and even the champions before me, or my era. So it was great to get to know a few of them on a deeper level.
That'd be incredible. Like you said before, you know, these guys are so scary and intimidating, don't even talk to you. And then you're playing with them and they're just the nicest blokes ever.
That's right. You know, and Courtney Walsh as well, who, you know, had a great bouncer and sort of kept angling in at you and straight one up every now and then. But you're not going to beat a nicer guy than Courtney Walsh. So, but at the time, you know, playing against him, I didn't know him. So yeah, that was one of the cool things about, you know, when your career was sort of getting towards the end, some new experiences and getting to know some different people from some different countries.
And who are some of the guys that you played with that were perhaps guys that you know, didn't really want to be around in the locker room because they were pests or they didn't want to room with? I'm thinking Merv Hughes might be one of those, or?
Yeah, fortunately I didn't play a lot with Merv. I played a few Australia A games with him, but I remember that during that 268, like I got hit early in that innings, and I'm sure I was concussed, you know, like, and I had to have it completely blew my eardrum apart as well. Like I had to have an operation at the end of the season, but I was in a fair bit of discomfort. And anyway, I got to 50 and I was pretty proud of myself because I had just this constant ringing in my ear. Got to 50 and, you know, put my bat up, and there's Merv going, mate, put your bat down because I've played over 150 first-class games, and that is the worst 50 I've ever seen or been a part of. And he did that whole way through. I got 100. That's the worst 100 I've ever seen. That's the worst 150. And when I was walking off, he was the last one I saw, and he goes, that's the worst 268 I've ever seen. So, yeah, Merv was a bit of a character. He gave my great mate, James Brayshaw, and it wasn't sledging. It was just out and out abuse. It was just whatever came into his head, it would just came out, and it was quite vulgar at times. But that was Merv. Some of the other players, like Glenn McGrath, was sort of a great bowler as well, but a complete nuffy who was a pain in the arse in the change room as well. But all the bowlers really, generally, and the spinners were a bit eccentric as well. You know,
what did McGrath used to do?
What's that?
What did McGrath used to do?
He was just a pest. Like he'd be, you know, he'd hide a pair of gloves or, you know, your favourite bat you couldn't find, just, you know, pesty stuff like that. And like the spinners were always a bit different as well. Like, you know, Peter Sleep was a, you know, unique sort of guy, very lovable. Maisie was a complete Great bloke, but he was way out there as well. Warney was about the only normal spinner, really, that I play with.
That's interesting because there's some interesting stories about Warney being pretty loose as well. So.
I mean, he was unique in a dip, but he was generally pretty normal compared to a lot of the other spinners.
That's great. And we love hearing the stories about pranks. Were there some, good pranks that you maybe a part of or you witnessed while you were there, Billy?
Oh, mate, pranks. There's some that I've heard of. Like I remember a guy called Neil McKenzie used to play for South Africa.
Yeah,
and he was very superstitious. And like he would do things like he'd always look back on his good innings and then he'd try and replicate what he did. And he made 100 somewhere along the lines, and then he was like trying to retrace his steps. And he remembered the night before that particular innings, he got in and out of bed 10 times. So then from that moment on, that 100, he'd have to get in and out of bed 10 times.
What?
Before he settled in bed, the night before a game or the night before he had to bat. And also, like, he was a bit of a neat freak, apparently, and had all his bats lined up. And one of his teammates glued one of his bats or stuck a bat on the roof, and he was looking for his bat, and they're like, mate, it's up there. And then lo and behold, he went out and made 100. So every time he batted after that, he stuck a bat on the roof of the change room. So
what?
Yeah, so like some of those pranks ended up, being part of his routine. The toilet seats were another one. Like apparently just before he went out to bat, he was obviously very neat and tidy and well raised because the toilet seats, he had to go and check all the cubicles to make sure the toilet seats were down before he went out to bat as well. So, hearing some of the quirky stuff like that along the way is pretty cool.
That's unbelievable. Speaking of unbelievable, a few months ago I spoke to another one of your great mates, Ryan Harris, and amazing achievement in his first year as coach at the Redbacks, or now South Australian cricket team, of course, and breaking huge, two massive droughts, obviously the one-day one and also the Sheffield Shield. You were part of the Saka for a number of years. Blewy played and then obviously post-career involved in the coaching side of things. And what was it like seeing both of those droughts being broken?
Oh, so good. Like how good was it, like the crowd and when the momentum really hit the South Australian cricket team and they were going so well, like the whole, as we do, like we get behind our sporting teams and our own people, and just to see the scenes at Karen Rolton Oval at the end of that game were pretty crazy. So really wrapped for Rhino and the team, but also, like everyone who's supported South Australian cricket over a long period of time, even, like West End have been with the team for so long. So all that sort of stuff was pretty cool. And Rhino, who had really done his apprenticeship big time with coaching as well. So, to come in and take over and take the team to the top in both competition was pretty crazy. So I was just wrapped for everyone involved. Guys like also, Jason Gillespie and Darren Lehman and some of those guys. Tim Nielsen, who'd been a part of South Australian cricket for a long time, just been made a life member as well, actually, of the South Australian Cricket Association, Tim Nielsen. So, yeah, some of that stuff was great. So, really wrapped for everyone involved.
Yeah, I was lucky enough to be there at Karen Rolton when, the winning runs got hit, and you're right, Blue. It was like something you'd never seen before.
Yeah.
Unbelievable and yeah, so good to see.
Yeah.
And well done, like you said before, to not just the current players and the coaches, but everyone before them, because Dizzy did such a great job. Yeah. And I'm glad you mentioned him as well, because he definitely deserves a lot of credit.
Yeah,
there.
Absolutely. Yeah. Well, in a way, I think a lot of people might have thought, and rightfully so, like how Dizzy would have felt about that situation. And as Dizzy does, he handles things so well, because, like as soon as he left, they win, and people straight away look to the coach and think, well, what was Ryan Harris doing compared to what, someone like Jason Gillespie did. But I think, they really built that squad up nicely. And I know Dizzy was instrumental in getting that bowling attack or that bowling group together, which was so important for the guys last season.
Another thing I wanted to talk to you about as well, Rhino mentioned, and I sort of tended to agree with him, that there's just so much cricket now, and maybe we need to scrap the T20 internationals and keep it just as a World Cup format only. But what's your thoughts on it? Do you think there is too much cricket as well?
Oh, the scheduling's crazy. It really is. Like I'm not a big fan of 50 over cricket anymore. Like I think every 4 years when the World Cup comes around, like I love it. And I love working on 50 over cricket, but I don't enjoy watching it anymore as such. So if I'm at home and 50 over cricket, I might sort of turn it over and look at the score, and then I'll turn it on to something else. So, I think, and there's so many leagues around now, right, with 2020 cricket as well. So I don't know. I think that's the biggest problem the game's got at the moment. I think it's generally in a pretty healthy spot. I mean, Test cricket's got its challenges with some other countries, but for me, if something had to give, it'd probably be 50 over cricket, I reckon. Yeah,
I think you're right. I remember the good old days of, like you mentioned before, Australia A in Australia, growing up as a kid watching that. It was absolutely awesome. But yeah, now it's changed a lot. A different landscape with T20 coming along, isn't it? And with kids just loving it and that sort of thing.
Well, I just wonder whether they could just shave, 10 overs off each innings, make it, instead of 20-20, making it 40-40. So it's just the double of T20 cricket. I just think, it's a great product for media, and especially TV, because of the duration, and it is great content for TV companies. But I think as a spectator, I'm not so sure. As I said, I love the World Cups and the odd game here and there. But and I know that there's not as much ODI cricket played as there used to. But I don't know. There's so much cricket, so something's got to give somewhere along the line.
Couldn't agree with you more. Absolutely. Yeah. And looking back at your own career, is there anything you would have done differently, Blewy?
Yeah, a bit. I would have listened a little bit better than I did. I reckon I was pretty stubborn, and I felt like I knew my game reasonably well. But I would have made some adjustments along the way now, like especially now that I've gone into coaching. I've got 2 boys, 9 and 10, who I'm trying to coach as well. And so, and looking back at some of my own cricket and the weaknesses that I had, I probably would have loved to have maybe fixed them up a little bit earlier in my career than what I did. So, but apart from that, mate, I love training. I was a hard worker. Away from the game, I looked after myself. So I reckon I was as fit as anyone. So, but I think from a technical point of view, I probably would have made a few adjustments. Yeah.
And you mentioned before that the 2 lads, that they love their golf like you as well. Yeah. How's the golf game going? Are you close to becoming a professional, or
the boys
with golf yourself?
Oh no, my golf's gone to shit, mate. It really has. Yeah, Look, my handicap now's 3, nearly moving on to 4. Like I haven't been off 4 for a long time. Like I've always been. When I played cricket professionally, my handicap was 4.
Yeah.
And then when I gave cricket away, it came down. I got to +2, actually.
Wow.
So I've been battling the ball striking, and I keep thinking I've found the problems that I've got, like a solution, but I'm just going round and round in circles. So it's killing me at the moment. But my boys have got the golf bug. So it's really cricket and golf at the moment for my 9 and 10-year-olds. So they're really enjoying their golf and getting better at it quite quickly. So it's
so
pretty
good
cool.
To hear. So good to hear, mate.
Yeah.
And you're also involved with a couple of different podcasts, the one and only Jars, the Blewy and Jars podcast, and also All Over Bar, the cricket. Do I get those? Yeah.
Yes.
Yeah, tell us about those 2.
Yeah, something I'm really enjoying, actually. Like after radio finished quite abruptly last year with the rush hour, like Bernie, myself and Jars straight away went, right, well, we'll just do a podcast. So that was on the cards. And then Bernie quite rightly got a job with SAFM Breakfast, and we were like, Bernie, you got to take it, mate. There's only so many opportunities like that you get. So off he went, signed his contract, and then we was like, okay, well, we've got to ramp up this podcast. And I said, well, have you checked your contract with SAFM? And he goes, no. So he did, and he wasn't allowed to do any podcasting. So we had to cut Bernie out, unfortunately. And, obviously since then it's been the podcast with Jars, which has been great fun, and it's got great momentum. It's difficult getting podcasts up and running because there's so many now as well. Like there's a lot of competition. So I love my time with Jars, once a week. Wouldn't surprise you that I do all the work behind the scenes and Jars just turns up and records. So we've got to get him moving a little bit more next year with a bit of luck. And then the other one, which is really exciting, is a cricket podcast called All Over Bar the Cricket, and that's with James Brayshaw, who basically hosts it, and with Matthew Hayden as well. So we're only 8 or 9 episodes deep with that one, but the numbers we're getting already is pretty exciting. So
sensational.
Yeah.
And
really
both of them on Spotify for people that don't have a listen, Blewy?
Yeah, Spotify. Yeah. So all the normal obviously Apple. With the cricket one, all over bar the cricket, you can see that one on YouTube as well. And we might have to look at that one with Jars as well, but Jars will have to get off his backside and do something. Maybe he can handle that side of it. But yeah, like all the normal sort of areas where you find podcasts. Yeah.
And we better give Jars a big congratulations as well. He took the Port Alunga to a premiership recently. So happy for Jars. Same. Especially because he absolutely loves it. That community footy and community sport he loves. So to get the rewards after 3 years, and for people that don't know, when he took over, like him and Ryan Fitzgerald basically got that club going again. And I think when Jars took over, they hadn't won a game for a long time. Their percentage was like 20% or something. So they were an absolute, the club was going nowhere. So obviously a lot of recruiting. And then, to turn it around in 3 years and win a premiership was pretty amazing. So happy for him. 2 points, I think the margin was. Yeah, that's right.
So
yeah, congratulations. That's an amazing story.
Yeah.
Well done.
Yeah.
Hey, before I let you go as well, Blewy, most important question of the day. What would be your Legends of Bevo Spotify playlist, rev up song in a game of cricket or golf or whatever it might be?
Oh, geez, that's a great question. I'm not overly musical, mate, to be honest. I love Powderfinger.
Good choice.
Absolutely love Powderfinger. So, I'm actually sick of My Happiness because I've played it for that many times. So anything else from Powderfinger, can't think of any off the top.
Pick You Up. That's a classic.
Yeah, Pick You Up.
Yep.
Listening to a few others at the moment, which I can't. Honestly, my knowledge and I love a single. I've got a sauna at home, so I've got this playlist that I've got at the moment, and Powderfinger's right up there. So anything from Powderfinger, mate. Yeah.
Good choice. Love it. And obviously, Summer of Cricket will see you on Channel 7 and listen to you on Triple M as well. Yeah,
I had a meeting recently with Channel 7 about the lead up to the first Test match in Perth, so can't wait for that. And yeah, the summer of Triple M cricket's always great fun too. So I'm so lucky. I've got 2 great employers in Channel 7 and Triple M cricket. So it's not far away. The white ball form of the games, kicks off with India as well. So 3 ODIs and 5 T20s. So that's all happening on Triple M cricket as well. So it's just around the corner.
Weird scheduling again, isn't it?
Yeah.
Before the Ashes, it's just, it's bizarre.
Yeah, no, I think that's because the Big Bash, Cricket Australia really want to free up the talent or, the Test players to play Big Bash at the end of the Sydney Test match. So I think that's why we're seeing more white ball cricket early on in the summer. But yeah, another bumper summer. Can't wait.
Can't wait. Greg Blewett, thanks so much for joining us again on Sports Legends of Bevo, mate.
Good on you, Bevo. Thanks for having me.